The first thing we need to do in this problem is find our derivative. The first derivative we need to find is the derivative of 4. And to do so, we need to use our term to multiply. So 2 times 4 equals 8. This is going to replace this. And then to replace the exponent, we're going to need to do 2 minus 1, which equals 1, which we don't really need to write out. So this is what it's going to look like so far. But we also need to find the derivative of this, so we're going to plug that in right next to it, like so. And now we need to find the derivative of this. And to do so, we're going to need to use our quotient rule. Which is low d high minus high d low over low low. And in this situation, low is going to be 2, low is going to be 2, and g of x is going to be high, and the d just stands for derivative. So we're going to put 2 for low, and the derivative of g, which is going to be g derivative of x, minus just g of x for the high. And then to find the d low of 2, we need to see that 2 is elevated to the 0, which equals 0. We're just going to put that in like that. And then the low, just 2 times 2. And then we need to find the derivative for this term, which is just going to be 3 times 4, 4 from the term, 2 is 12. And then to replace the term, we're going to do 4 minus 1, which equals 3. It's going to be 12x cubed. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to replace these x's with the -1 that it tells us to. It's going to look like this. -1, 0, and then we might as well just multiply the 2 times 2 to be 4, minus 12 to the -1 elevated to the 3. Now we're going to want to find the values of the f of x's and the g of x's and their derivatives by looking at a graph and a chart. For the f of -1, we're going to see that x equals -1 is right here, and we can see that it reaches and intercepts at 1 equals -1. So we're going to write that down. -1, and then to find the derivative of it, we just need to look at the rise over run. And we can see that there's a nice little point right here, 2 over 2. And we just need to go down, which is our rise, and over. Because we go down, it's going to be -3, and then over run is going to be +1 over 1. So it's going to be -3. And then we're going to want to find our values from the chart. For g prime or derivative of -1, we can look over here. We can see that the x of -1 is going to be here. And we can see that that is going to be -4. So we're going to plug that in. -4 minus g of -1, which we can see it over here is going to be 0. And then we know that 0 times 0 is just going to be 0. And this is going to be over 4, so we're going to simplify that in a minute. And then minus 12 to the -1. -1 is going to stay -1 because -1 to the cube is going to be just -1. So -12 times -1 is equal to 12 plus 12. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to simplify this right here before we solve anything. It's going to be -2 times -4 over 4 plus 12. We're going to keep simplifying. 3. This would equal -8. -8. This would equal -8 over 4. Oops. negative 8 over 4 plus 12, and these two would make a positive, so we would get 3 plus 2 plus 12, and then multiplying all of these together, we would get 24 plus 2 plus 12, which equals 38. Now for our next problem, we're also being asked to find the derivative, and we're going to need to use our quotient rule again, which was the low D, high D, low D, high minus high, high D, low over low, low. This is going to be low, and this is going to be high. So we're going to want to plug that in. We're going to put g of x, and then we're going to want to do our high D low. First, we need to find the derivative to x to the 2, which is going to be just 2x. So we're going to put just 2x right over here. And then we're going to want to, and then obviously this is just going to be 2, 0, which equals 2. So we would just leave that, and then we're going to move on into the high D low part. The high part is just going to be x2 minus 2, and the D low is going to be g prime of x. And the low low is just going to be g of x squared. All right. And now we're going to want to plug in the 1 into the x's, so it's going to look like g1 times 2 times 1 minus 1, 2 minus 2 times g prime of 1 over g1 squared. And we're going to want to plug in our values. We're going to want to find g1 first, which when we look over here, g of 1 for g of x is going to be 2. So we're going to put 2 over here, and then 2 times 1 is just going to be 2. And then over here, this is going to just be 1 minus 2, which would be negative 1. Times, and then we're going to want to find the g prime of negative 1, which when we look over here, and we see over here is going to be negative 3. And then over here, we already know g of 1 is 2, so we're just going to put this in 2 squared. And now we're just going to solve. This is going to be 4, and this is going to be 3, but we're going to keep it minus 4, 4 minus 3 because of this. And then over 4 is going to be 1 over 4.